Hello, everybody. I'm a practicing therapist and a doctoral student of psychology. Today, we're going to talk about how to make an anxious preoccupied or fearful leaning anxious, how to make them feel loved. And if you are a person who is anxious preoccupied or fearful leaning anxious, sometimes what can happen is you don't know what you necessarily need because you're so used to telling yourself that you're a burden and you're not allowed to ask for these things that sometimes you might forget that this is okay to ask for, right? There are plenty of videos about how to make an avoidant feel loved, and you're actively looking into that to learn how to make someone feel loved. But also, it's really important to know what you need to feel loved. And if you're a person who's with an anxious, preoccupied, or fearful leaning anxious, it's really important to realize that a lot of times these folks feel like what they're asking for is already too much, even if it's not. And by doing these things will really establish and help them. I think a fear with people who are not anxious or don't have an anxious side, they're afraid to give these things because they're afraid that person will keep asking and keep asking. What I've noticed as a therapist and when I'm practicing, that's not true. If you are able to give anxious, preoccupied some of these things, a lot of times they do get better. Now, of course, they have to also be willing to want to change because you can't give them continuously things and then they're not willing to change and they won't realize that it's an issue that they have. And so they may continue to keep taking. But if they really want to change, these things are they're healthy to give them to help them heal. It's not every person's needs are different. And so I just want everyone to keep that in mind, okay? The first one is if you want an anxious preoccupied to feel loved and you're an avoidant, you're going to probably struggle with this one, but it's really important. Avoid getting frustrated when they need repeated affirmations. Remember, it's about their attachment needs. It's not about your failure as a partner. And that's where it gets tricky. If they keep needing reassurance, you think because you're not good enough. But that's your wound. And you're making it about yourself when it never started about you. And that's not fair to them because they're just they were asking originally to heal something in them. And then it's almost like you're making it about yourself. So it's really important when they're asking something repeatedly and that bothers you, being frustrated is not going to help. Giving them what they're asking for, especially because you do have it, you're upset because you want to be a better partner, provide them with that. They will feel better. The next one is let them know it's safe to voice their insecurity or jealousy. And you want to make sure you don't punish them for it or humiliate them because then they're not going to tell you. And then they're going to crash out and then you're going to feel like, oh, they're too much or they're overwhelming because they're actually bottling it up and you can't see that. And then they do crash out and it is a lot at that time. But it wasn't at first because they were suppressing it, but you don't see that. And so it's really important to let them know it's okay so they stop doing that because you probably don't want them to do that either, right? And so it's really important to tell them, hey, by the way, if you feel uncomfortable, I can reassure you. Or did that bother you? Let me know. I'm not going to be mad. I want to help. I want to hear you out. No matter how ridiculous you think it is, I'm not going to judge you. I want to hear what you're saying and I want to provide you with what you need. That will really help a lot. And if it gets too much, tell them, hey, I've mentioned this a couple times already. I promise I wasn't doing anything. I want you to trust me. I'm not going to leave you. That's enough, okay? The next one is give them full attention when they share their feelings or fears. Now, a lot of people who don't struggle with this one doesn't bother them too much, right? Like sometimes we're talking and we're sharing and I don't know, some people go on their phone, whatever it is. It's rude, but people don't take it personally. But anxious, preoccupied folks especially, and some and fearful avoidants do this too, maybe even dismissive avoidance, but I see it way more common with anxious, preoccupied, and fearful avoidance. They might actually have the narrative, oh, you don't care about me. This is proof that you're not listening. You don't like me. I don't matter to you. You care more about that than this, right? So, for example, if you had a work call and you're on a date with your partner and that work call was not that important and you know it isn't, it can wait. Probably not the best idea to pick that phone up unless it's really important. Let's say it's a work email. That's a better way to do it. And you can answer it later. But if you look at it and you start replying to it while you're on a date, and especially while they're telling you how they feel or something they're afraid of, that will make them feel like you don't care about them. Even though you didn't mean it like that. In your mind, you're thinking, okay, let me get this out of the way so that I don't have to think about it and I can be available. That's what you're thinking about, right? And I know that. We've all been in that place. Well, most of us have, right? You're actually trying to get this out of the way so that you can feel present and really be focused on the date. But by you doing it in that order, they felt like this was more of a priority because you're trying to get it, even though you're trying to get it out of the way, you're doing it in the middle of while they're talking or in the middle of a date. And rather, if you adjust and say, okay, that's a little annoying, but let me, push it aside and really show my partner, because it's not just about how you feel about the date, it's also showing them I care. I'm present and I'm here. Doing that alone will make it a lot easier and will make the date more smoother. The next one is you want to verbally affirm your feelings. This, when I say verbally, that's the most important part, because a lot of people, if you're avoidantly attached, you don't realize that verbal is the main thing that anxious preoccupied need, because in your mind you're thinking, well, of course I care, I'm here, or of course I care, I'm paying all the bills, right? Which, yes, you do care, I know you do, but you have to mention that to them, because anxious preoccupied individuals have this particular trauma, and some fearful avoidants do as well, where they thought someone cared about them, and in actuality they didn't, right? So they don't want to be in that place ever again, especially if it's a fearful avoidant and they've had like a lot of trauma. They're never ever going to assume anything unless you say it to make sure. They're never going to do that. They're never going to put themselves in that place. And so it's your job as their partner to communicate that, right? It's not even that hard to that extent, because you already do care. It's not like you're lying, right? Just tell them clearly, I care about you. You matter to me. I'm committed to you. This relationship means so much to me. Things like that can really make a difference. The next one is hard for some people, but I would feel that it's probably one of the most fundamental ones. And that's I should have put this one first, actually, but it doesn't matter. The first one is this one, which I should have put first, it's the fifth one. Be predictable in general, but predictable with your responses. Be predictable with your schedule, in the sense what you're doing, your day to day. It doesn't mean you have to you have to monitor yourself and tell them every second of the day, I woke up at this time, I use the bathroom at this time, I'm breathing every second. You don't have to do that, okay? Like that, and I think you guys know that, right? Anxious preoccupied people are not trying to monitor you. They want a sense of safety, and they want to understand what's happening in your day-to-day. And a lot of anxious preoccupied individuals are just uncomfortable with uncertainty. And if you don't answer a message for like 6 hours, it's not the fact that they're trying to control you. And I think people just get this wrong if you're not anxious preoccupied, and I've even not understood this, but it's something that I'm learning to understand. It's really important. They're not trying to check on you to like ruin your life or take over your space or whatever it is. It's because they just don't understand what you're doing. If you just check in. You don't have to give them 20 years of your life, right? Just 5 seconds. Hey, by the way, my buddy and I decided we're going to go to the movies. So, I'll be doing that. I'll text you when I get home. I promise you that's going to be enough for most anxious preoccupied. Just fill in those gaps a little bit. And the next one, pretty similar. Check in regularly, even small ways. Good morning, good night, how are you? How are you feeling? How was that meeting? These things are really important to anxious preoccupied individuals. And I think a lot of people think it's a lot. But when you look at it, once you build this stuff in your schedule or in your relationship, it's actually not. And all of these things are going to help the relationship. Like, none of these things are bad. Most secure people do these things actually pretty naturally. And so it's very healthy. So let's summarize and we'll wrap it up. Avoid getting frustrated when they need affirmations. Let them know it's safe to voice their insecurities. Give them full attention when they share their feelings or fears. Affirm your feelings verbally, okay? Be predictable. And check in regularly. I hope this video is helpful to somebody. Please like, subscribe. I will see you in the next one.